What a night to start the MAC. We got MAC football action, and of course, MAC action as they call it. And all the games for the MAC are going to be on a Wednesday here tonight. So we've got all 6 games that we're going to be looking at here. Just going to do a real quick live show here where everybody can kind of get some picks and predictions for our MAC tonight. I have 3 really good plays up as my best bets tonight. So I've got some strong opinions on some of these games, some lesser opinions on these other games. But what a year it's been with the COVID and late start for, of course, the MAC and Big Ten and Pac-12. Now, of course, what do you know? The election. We're going to go into overtime on the election, it sounds like. So been a crazy 2020, and we continue that. But hopefully tonight we can put you on some winners here in college football in the MAC. And, of course, we're starting at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And for you that follow on our Wednesday and our Friday live show, we do the live cap. Allie Burns and Nick Parsons will be on at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Of course, on Wednesdays, we look at the NFL, at NFL Week 9 for everybody. And then on Friday, we do the College Football Fridays. And both of those are at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you haven't done so, make sure you give us a thumbs up, hit the like button, leave a comment. Ask about the game you want to talk about, and we'll put it up and see if we can give you a play on that. Of course, if you turn on notifications on either YouTube or Facebook, you'll make sure that when we do go live with all these stuff we do, you'll get notified. So we're going to start it off 6 o'clock game, Eastern Michigan and Kent State. If you look at this game, these are 2 teams that I'm not expecting a ton from this season, especially Kent State. I guess that would be I actually think Eastern Michigan is the better team, so I was kind of surprised that Eastern Michigan is the underdog here. But the line in this one is Kent State minus 4.5 with the total 65.5. And like I said, this is the 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time game. Only way you can see this one is if you got the ESPN Plus, and this one is at Dick Stadium in Kent, Ohio. So these 2 teams, though, I thought Eastern Michigan last year, one of the teams that I like to bet on, I did pretty well with last year. So teams that I do well with year in, year out, I kind of, I won't say fall in love with, but you definitely, you don't forget those. And this is a team that finished the year 3-1 against the spread, and including almost upsetting Pitt last year, let's remember, in the bowl game. So they lost 34-30. But they did lose to Kent last game of the season. So 36-24, they lost to Kent. Kent is one of those teams last year. They finished winning 4 straight games and 4 straight covers. And some of those were big underdogs. I believe they beat Utah State in a bowl. Utah State 51-41 in a bowl as a 17-point underdog. So the MAC was really good in bowl action against the spread last year. So I thought this conference was very underrated. So Elliot's in on you guys. So make sure if you haven't done so, make sure you leave a comment and give us a thumbs up and tell us what game you want a question on for tonight. But to me, I actually think, there's a little payback here. I think that Eastern Michigan goes and gets this win. So if you're going to give me the points, I definitely would be taking Eastern Michigan in this one. On the total here, it's a pretty tough total because these teams last year, last year's total was 68.5 and it went under. So I was kind of surprised that this wasn't a little higher, maybe higher total since it was 68.5. Now it's 65.5, but that is up from 62.5 where it opened. So I think if I was going to play this game, I would take Eastern Michigan and the points and maybe even sprinkle a little money line on this one. So make sure you get in on that. All right, so then we go to the next game, another 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time game, Western Michigan at Akron, in Akron, Ohio here. And, when you look at this line opened at as Western Michigan favored by 16, bet up almost immediately to 20.5, and the total opened at 56 and bet down to 52. Akron is one of the worst teams in college football the last, decade? So not surprising that they're a big underdog here. And a lot of people I still think remember that Western Michigan row the boat team with PJ Fleck and all that. So Gerald will be covering this game. I think it's one of the next games we cover, one of my better bets, actually. But just to finish up on this Western Michigan Akron game, this is one of those games I think Western Michigan rolls. I think you have to be careful, though, these big lines early in the season. I don't think these two played last year. Let me see if they played. They haven't played since 2017. And actually, Akron won that game, believe it or not, 14-13. So these teams haven't played. Western Michigan, though, did lose in the bowl game last year, 23-20 against Western Kentucky. But I just can't see Western Michigan not covering this game. So although it's not one of my better plays, I think if I was going to play this game, I would lay the points. I wish I would have gotten in this when it was like 17-18 under that key number of 20. At 20.5, man, it's pretty tough to have a ton of confidence here when you've already lost probably the best number in this one. So to me, I would say if you're playing that game, I would be on the favorite Western Michigan. And the total, I don't know. I think I would stay away from the total in that one. Next game we look at, let's see. I think somebody wanted to hear about Miami of Ohio. Ball State at Miami of Ohio. It's a 7 o'clock Eastern time, and I think this is one of the premier games. This is CBS Sports Network. So Yager Stadium, of course, Oxford, Ohio, very close to where I'm at now. I'm here in Cincinnati, so I get a lot of information on Miami of Ohio, and this is, they call it the cradle of coaches for a reason. I mean, Miami of Ohio has created some of the best coaches in college football over the years, but it's been down the last decade for Miami of Ohio standards. And I actually think Ball State is one of the better teams in the conference this year. I think Buffalo and Ball State, I think, are my top two teams when I look at it. So I was surprised that Ball State is opened as an underdog, but it has flipped. It opened at Miami of Ohio -3.5. Now it's Ball State favored by 1, and the total is at 56 in this one. And like I said, one of my better plays, I have a 3-pack tonight up at Picks and Parlays. So I do like this Ball State team a lot. When I put it in, I got it at 2.5. So I was at +2.5. So I was pretty excited about that. I still would take them at -1 because I think they're going to win outright. But I definitely wouldn't be as excited. So Ball State is very, very good, though. But I do think no fans. I just don't think home field is going to have near the effect that we've seen in a lot of college football this year. So to me, and Max doesn't have huge home field edges anyway. So to me, I would take Ball State in this one. Like I said, one of my best bets. Probably of the 3 I like tonight, that's probably tied for first. I would say I have 2 I really like, and that is one of them. Let's see. Chris says keep betting. Well, shoot, everybody's betting. Heck, everybody was betting on the. I saw it at our Facebook group. Everybody was betting on the election last night. So if people are betting on the election, people are willing to bet on MAC action and midweek MAC action. So if you haven't done so, make sure you give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe, share to your friends, that kind of stuff, and turn on notifications if you're at YouTube to make sure you don't miss out. And don't forget, at 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time today, Allie Burns and Nick Parsons. And I believe they have Dan Kaiser today, but I'm not sure on that. But definitely those two will have NFL Week 9 look ahead and some free betting picks and predictions for you. So make sure you stay tuned for that. But when we look at the other game that I really like is Buffalo at Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois opened at 10 as an underdog of 10 points. Now it's Buffalo have to lay 14 in this one. And this game is ESPN2 at, of course, Husky Stadium in Illinois. So this Buffalo team is the best team in the conference. I thought they were the best team last year. They're the best team, I think, again this year. And what really makes Buffalo good is their offensive and defensive line. I mean, they dominate on both sides of the and we see this so much in, of course, the SEC. I think Alabama's the key to Alabama, obviously the great skill position players you see, but it's the offensive and defensive line. Look how many guys they put into the draft on both their defensive line and offensive line. They have so much depth there. Not saying Buffalo has that kind of depth, but they're that much better, I think, than Northern Illinois on both defense and offensive line. And I think that's the key here. I wish I got this at that opening number, but let me see where I actually put it in at. I got it in at Oh, okay. And I also like the over in this one. I got it in at 12.5. No, 13. I'm sorry. And then I also have a bet on the over in this one. I actually think the over is going to hit pretty easily because when you look at Buffalo, I think they score 35, 38 on their own in this one, and maybe even more. And we've seen through college football week one that the defenses have been way behind the offenses. So I think Buffalo will score a bunch here. So I wouldn't even mind parlaying this one together, both the side at Buffalo and the over, as I think Buffalo just puts on a show. For you that like Northern Illinois, well, I mean, I think that a lot of that is the Northern Illinois history that we all remember with Lynch and the year I think it was the Orange Bowl, when, to be honest, he could have won the Heisman that year, and what a career he had. But since then, they've kind of battled around trying to find the next quarterback there and haven't really been able to produce that. But Northern Illinois historically is a pretty good team, so that is a worrisome. So maybe you just take the total here and take that 53. It did get bet up from 51.5. I do think it's still pretty safe because I think Buffalo gets, 35 to 40 points, and I think Northern Illinois will kick in a couple touchdowns, so we'll push this one over. Let's see. What's the other game we haven't covered? We covered Kent State, Akron, Northern Illinois, Ohio at Central Michigan. Actually, this is probably my third best bet of the night, because the 2 is in the Buffalo, and then the Ball State game. This game I like a lot as well. Ohio at Central Michigan. This one's on ESPN at Kelly Short Stadium in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. And when you look at this line, it opened. Let's see. Let me get the opening here. The opening was a pick'em, and then Ohio got bet up pretty quickly to 1.5, and then now I see it at -3. The total opened at 60 and bet down to 54.5. I'm kind of surprised that the MAC, several of these lines got bet down on the total. I was kind of surprised, but Ohio is the deserving favorite. They're going to be, looks like, going with 2 quarterbacks this year. I forget what the name of that quarterback, because the brother is actually going to be taking over. Let me get that name for you. Sorry. It's hard to do these shows on your own. But when you look at Ohio, I think the offense, they have both a dual threat quarterback and a pure passing quarterback. So I think that's dangerous because, one, the defenses, we've talked about how behind they've been from the offenses. And then when you're behind and then you have to face 2 quarterbacks and they both aren't, like, if they're both drop back passers, I think that would be okay. So I want to say thanks to Jack saying he's a big fan. So when you look at, though, I think that gives a lot to deal with for this. So I think you're going to see a lot of vanilla defenses. I think Ohio, and I'm a big fan of Frank Solich. Obviously, he's been around. I mean, he was the defensive coordinator there in Nebraska and then took over after Osborne and kind of was run out of town. I didn't think he was truly given a chance there, and we've seen it's not an easy place to win. Since then, he's gone to Ohio and it's been successful year in, year out. Had a great year last year. I think Ohio is way underrated this season. I think Ohio is maybe the 3rd, 4th, 5th. They're in that range. The next wave after. I think Buffalo is by far the best. I think Ball State is next in my bet, and then I think Ohio is in that next tier. And I like Ohio to win here. I think not only do they win, they cover. And I think it could be high scoring. But I'm going to stay away from the total because I'm a little nervous about Central Michigan. I think they have I read a little bit about their quarterback. It sounds like he might be suspended or out or, for this game. So not sure what you're going to get there. And that worries me about the total. But I do think Ohio, with their 2 quarterbacks, they're going to play both of them, it sounds like. And I think you're going to see a lot of points out of this Ohio team. So I like Ohio in this one. And then we got the last game. And before I get to it, don't forget, if you haven't done so, make sure you give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe, share, all that stuff. And then turn on notifications. Don't forget, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time here. So less than an hour, we have Allie and Nick talking NFL Week 9. Have a live show with them. And I believe they have Dan Kaiser. Don't quote me on that, but I believe that is the case. So we do have one last game, Bowling Green at Toledo. It's the last game, 8 o'clock on ESPNU at the Glass Bowl, the famous Glass Bowl in Toledo, Ohio. And when you look at this game, the line is Toledo minus 24 and a total of 63. The line opened at 18.5 and was bet up pretty heavily right away, and then even more so the last day and a half. So it's a lot of points. And I know this Bowling Green team doesn't look great this year, but man, that is a crap ton of points, as they say. And last year, Bowling Green actually won this game 20-7, and Bowling Green has covered in 3 of the last 4 years. So a little getting this many points. There was 2 underdogs I liked, and then there was 3 underdogs I liked, but the one flipped as now a favorite. But this is one of the underdogs I do like. I think Bowling Green is. I don't think they're live to win, but you give me all these points. I just think it got a little out of hand in betting in this one. So if you're looking at this late game, and so if you get down early and you have to, what do they say, the comeback, or you got to get live action, I think Bowling Green is one that you have to look at. I think you're getting 24 points. I mean, that is a ton of points in a conference that historically scores a lot of points. And you look at the total here, it opened at 61.5 and is now at 63. That's a ton. I mean, they're expecting a ton of points. So, I mean, how can you win this game? I mean, think about it. 41-20, you win. 41-23, you win. I just think you give me the 24. At 18.5, I could see Toledo maybe winning by 20. But 24 is just too many points. I think that's a live underdog. So that's all the games we have for tonight. So we got 6 MAC action games tonight. Of course, my best bets, like I said, most people pay for these. I'm going to give these out right now. I like the over in the Buffalo. I probably like 4 games, but I'm going to give my top 3. I'm going to take the over 52 is where I got it at in the Buffalo, Northern Illinois. In the Ball State, I actually got them as a plus 2.5 favorite. I know as an underdog. Sorry, now they are the favorite. And then I like Ohio versus Central Michigan. I like Ohio minus 2.5. And then probably my 4th play would be Buffalo minus the points. I do think they win pretty easily in that one. So that would be my 4th play. And then probably my next play would be the big underdog in the Bowling Green, picking Bowling Green there. So, all right, guys, don't forget, if you haven't done so, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe, share, all this stuff, tell your friends. And stick around. 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time tonight. We have Allie Burns and Nick Parsons, and I believe Dan Kaiser, but definitely Allie and Nick doing live cap here on Picks and Parlays. We've got NFL Week 9 talk, so it's never too early to start talking about the weekend action. And then on Friday, 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, we'll have Allie and Nick again talking college football Saturday action for, week 10, 11, whatever we are for this coming weekend. So make sure you stick around. All right, guys, everybody have a good night, and we'll see you back on here in about an hour.